take the leap and just go do it. You know, I know it sounds so simple, but if you don't try, if you don't get out there, you know, we all know certain people in our lives that, oh, I want to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then if you never take that jump, it's really hard to do. So, you know, getting in front of the camera instead of being behind the camera, getting in those rooms, take the step, get out there, try. And if there's something that you love, go for it.
My challenge to people that would say that, well, it's too small of a niche, I'd be like, yeah, right. I dare you to show me a niche that's too small, because that means is that you could really become the expert for it. And if it's a very small niche in community of people in that space, like there's an even better chance for you to make even more money.
If you're not doing something you love, you know, then the money's not going to be fulfilling. So there's no point in doing something that you don't love. If the work isn't fulfilling, the money's not going to be either. So I found that, you know, because I love what I do, I could succeed in it, or be successful in it. And, you know, that's the best thing you could do. You know, you have a passion, you know how to use a camera, you know, find a niche that you love and just do it. You know, don't do things just for money, because you're never going to stop, and you're always going to be striving for something else. But if you find something you love, you're not going to continue striving past that, because you're going to be happy in your seat.
On today's episode of Grow Your Video Business, we talk about how John leveraged his position for video into a thriving multi-niche business. We also talk about the power of building separate brands for different markets and why it might be right for you. And then we go over John's secret sauce for breaking into the education video market. Hint, hint, it's all about... That's all I'm going to say about that. You got to listen to the episode. Here we go. What is up, my friend? Hey, welcome to the show. This is Grow Your Video Business. I'm your host, Ryan Coral. How fast can I say that? 3 times fast, from Studio Sherpas and from the video production company, Tell Studios, which I've been running for the last 20 years. And if this is your first time here, well, where have you been all my life? We're like 400 episodes into this show, and if you're trying to grow your video business, like, this is the place to be. I love the process of production. I love the creative part of production. I love making, we do a lot of brand stories at Tell Studios. We've gotten to travel all over the world and do all sorts of amazing things. But I really love the business side of what we do. And 8 years ago, this show was born out of this desire to want to continue to share to a wider audience of other filmmakers and video production business owners. So thank you for joining me on this journey. And on this show, I bring on incredible guests. John, he's from our Mastermind, so he's going to share his story and his journey today. I'm excited for you to learn from him. But also, you know, for me, doing this business for 20 years, I've actually done some things right, and I've made plenty of mistakes, and I've tried my best to bring all of that to the show, to be as open, authentic, and vulnerable, and all of the things, so that you can learn faster. So that's what this show is designed for. But if you're a person that likes to go a little bit deeper, and you're maybe a little bit more hungry than the person next to you, I'm not talking about food here. I'm talking about, like, got desire to grow, scale, scroll. It's like, I feel like that's part of another word. Anyway, if you feel like you want more, then boy, do I have something for you. I've built something, I'm building a community called 10X Filmmaker, and it's in this community, we've got monthly coaching calls, we've got monthly master classes, there's a lot of content, and there's an amazing community. If that sounds enticing, then here's how I'd really like to wet your whistle is if you go to studiosherpas.com/10xfilmmaker, I've got a free workshop there that you can get access to and get a sense of what is this 10X Filmmaker thing all about. My thinking around 10X is that you would get more things back in your life, because if you're anything like me, when you built a business, things spiraled out of control. Like there's a lot of chaos. There's lots of things to distract you and to pull you away from the things that you really care about. And my hope is that you can make 10x the amount of money that you're making, that for sure. But I think there are a lot of opportunities to get a lot more like time freedoms, and time is really important. Money is important, but also you can just feel stuck. You can feel stuck in all of the business related things. And so I want you to find a lot more freedom. And that's why this whole thing exists. That's why I do this education brand or whatever outside of running my video production business. So go grab that workshop, get access to that workshop. It's totally free, and you can get access by going to studiosherpas.com/10xfilmmaker. Okay, that's enough about that. Let's get into our episode today. Okay, roll the tape, DJ. Here we go. What's up, friends? Welcome to another episode of the show. Today, my guest is John Bilski, who is the owner of Bilski Productions, High Tide Media, and Edu Films. Wait, Edu Films?
EDU. Or
EDU.
Whatever.
Those
as soon as
two.
you type it in right, we're good.
Anyway, John, he's also a master of a member. He's a master at being a member of the Mastermind.
Absolutely.
Bilski, I'm so excited to have you on the show, man.
Let's do this. I'm excited to be here. I'm a long time listener, first time guest. I will say, being part of the Mastermind now, and after listening to you probably about 4 or 5 years, I guess I was listening to you, and took a while to actually get into the Mastermind, and and which I wanted to join maybe a year before that. But you've definitely given some inspiration to our business, and kind of just taking the leap and jumping into things, confidence, talking to people, and talking to potential clients. So, and just to talk about the Mastermind a second too, I really enjoy the group of people that we're with. I think everybody's awesome. And, even when you're not in the hot seat, which the hot seat is when, you have your time to ask your questions, you pick up so much information from everybody. That's something that I really just kind of love about it, where I'm constantly taking notes about, things to check out, whether it's, an app, a different way to just think about things and how to go about your business. It's been awesome. It's been fantastic now, month 8 into it, I think.
Yeah. I'm curious, since we're on this, we're not going to stay on this topic, but since we are here, has there been like a takeaway or something that you've applied to your business, or just even personally, that has been helpful, that you feel like has come straight from the Mastermind? One
thing that definitely stood out is just having a, just structure to presenting, and taking, say, my products that I want to sell, or that I want to sell to, we'll talk about my education brand, but, just getting in rooms, talking to people, and coming up with a process for how to do that, because you walk into so many different, you start a business because you love what you do. And I've always loved video. And I mean, my whole life, I've always loved video. So basically, you walk in and say, all right, now I've got this business. I want to, I got cameras. Now I need to figure out how to actually bring in money so I can support my family. And that is, and sometimes when you're trying to figure it out on your own, it's so complicated, but it's so much easier when you're dealing with people that have been through the struggles that you might have had, that you might be going through, that they can give you a little tip here or there, or being able to help somebody else makes me feel tremendous. If I could give some sort of input to somebody that might be starting their business out, or at a different level in their business, where I can give them a little tip or advice on how to do something, that's the best part about it for me.
Yeah, that is super fun. I mean, it is like, that's one of my favorite parts is like, not only are you, able to ask direct questions and get direct feedback and, take notes and all of that stuff, but it's even in the listening to what questions other people are having. You're like, I've never had that question, but that's a really good question. And then to hear the responses is like, wow, okay, this is really interesting. And you walk away from, I lead the thing. I haven't been on the hot seat ever in this group, But
Right.
every single session, I'm taking notes and I'm like, oh, I'm going to check that app out. I'm going to try this approach for cold email outreach. And it's pretty fascinating. And I think you're spot on. It's very helpful, and it feels fulfilling when you can contribute something that
Absolutely
where somebody
rewarding.
else is
It's
like,
really
oh, that's a
rewarding.
good idea. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you first started, did you start with weddings, or were you just dabbling in a little bit of video? What was the start of your journey before you built the wedding brand?
So basically, I grew up in this industry when it comes down to it, because I started when I was 19 working for somebody. And I'll jump back really quick to my love of video. But so I've always had cameras, always had VCRs, always loved television, always loved videos. And I used to rollerblade and skateboard with my buddies. And I never really excelled at that because I was the one with the camera. So I'd be filming everybody. Then we're making skate videos all throughout high school. And it was also when the show Jackass was really popular. So we did a lot of that type of stuff as well. And then in 11th grade, I made like a video montage of old home movies of me and my sisters growing up, and gave it to my father as a gift, and got an emotional response. It got him to cry. And that's what I said, this is what I want to do for a living. Yeah. So, that's when I thought, all right, weddings. Someone suggested, hey, why don't you think about doing weddings? So that was it. Boom. I had no direction before that, but ever since then, I had a clear direction. I'm going to do wedding videos. So I went to college for a short time, and then while I was in college, I needed to find a job. I was living at home. I had car payment. I had to make some money. So my father suggested, he goes, why don't you want to do wedding video? Go look to work with a wedding videographer. So went through the yellow pages. The first one that answered the phone, I got an appointment with, sat down, and I got hired immediately. I started working there 2 weeks later, and that was 22 years ago. So that was, like I said, when I was 19. So I worked with them for 8 years before I started my own business, because I don't jump into things. I like to be very safe. I need to know every little aspect. And I did a lot of regular wedding videos, just like everybody else. And then I kind of hated them. And I told my wife, I go, now I don't know what to do now. But I had seen short form wedding films coming popular. It's like 2010, 2011, right? That's when short form was coming out. It was getting really popular and telling a story. And I just fell in love with it. I took courses to learn more about it. So this way, and it changed my whole business, changed my whole life. From there, we still have a successful wedding brand, and we have a great name for ourselves. We're on Long Island, which I always call Wedding Land. And then during the pandemic, guess what? Can't have weddings. So that's when we kind of shifted gears, and I spoke to my wife. I said, this is how we're going to build our commercial brand. I'm going to reach out to these small businesses, let them know that they're open, or this or that and the other thing. And she goes, they have no money. There's no money in businesses right now. Nobody's got any money to spend on advertising and marketing. So I'm like, all right, well, that's no good. So she goes, why don't you think about schools? She goes, schools have so much money right now, public schools, because they weren't paying for support staff. They weren't paying for custodians. They weren't paying for all this extra stuff that was going on because there's no students in school. And they needed to fill a void. So my wife is an administrator in a local district, and she's an assistant soup and a superintendent, for those that are not in the education world. And she said, we have to figure out what to do with graduations. So I think it was like a Sunday, we spent the whole day just kind of figuring out, all right, these are the three options we're going to come up with. We're going to come up with socially distant graduations, virtual graduations, and then like a graduation film. And we connected with, I think, 5 or 6 districts after sending out just an email blast and just trying to get out there. And like I said, we got like 6 from there. And we built these relationships with districts that we're still continuing today. So now it's 4 years later. We're not doing just graduations because that's basically one day a year. So that doesn't really help us that much. But with these other films that we started doing for the districts, like we're doing branding films for the entire district, for departments, for buildings. So, you have a district with elementary, high school, and middle school. Now there's 3 videos right there, along with the full district film that's going to get the district's vision out there, and help communicate with the local community, because that is really the toughest issue that a lot of these schools are having is, and what parents are feeling too, is they don't feel that connection with the district. So I think what we're doing is we're giving some transparency to what the goal is from the schools, and then getting it out to the community, so this way they could see opportunities for the children that they might not even realize were an opportunity. Electives. Not every school has a lot of electives, and everybody has something a little different. So it's nice. So this way now we could showcase certain things. Also doing community films. So for big moments, homecomings, things like that, where now we'll put together a quick little editorial video that's returned within a week, and now they get to put it all over their social. And I started doing some research and trying to create some case studies for one of my presentations I have in October. And I'm looking at the social, and every one of our videos has triple the amount of views or reactions to the other content that they're posting on their social.
Yeah.
So we just did a film for one of our districts. It was based on this initiative called Hometown Heroes. And it's basically how the district connects with local police, firefighters, volunteers, active military, retired military, EMT, and how they have all these programs throughout the year. So they had a whole memorial for 9/11. They had they bring in helicopters multiple times. But they bring in a lot of helicopters just to kind of get everybody excited. They have police and firefighter appreciation days. So we had about 30 shoots throughout the year for them. And then we had editorial videos for maybe half of them. And then we had a longer film that we produced, and they broadcast it to their social. I think it was a day before 4th of July. Maybe, so that would probably be the 3rd of July. And
it probably would.
I think it's like the 3rd of July. So they put this up, and I just was, like I said, doing my research, and it got 13,000 views in the past month. And the amount of responses, the local fire departments commenting, we're so honored to be a part of this community. And you know how it's all working together. It's been awesome seeing pride that students are getting, and and educators. It's been really fulfilling, and taking that emotion that we've been capturing from weddings for all these years, and now taking that and just creating emotion through the schools. Same thing when we do a commercial work. It's all about emotion. I always say, if you can get somebody that we can twist that knife a little bit and get them to cry. That's our goal. And it helped us with two of our districts get huge bonds approved, one for $58 million and one for $158 million.
How are you reaching out to schools? Like, are you pursuing additional schools? I mean, you've got the wedding thing going, but it seems like you're spending a lot more energy in the education world, corporate world, at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with education, throwing things on social doesn't necessarily help you. It's nice to see that we're doing things and, just a little bit extra. But a lot of the districts connect with each other because they all know each other. There's so many different like superintendent groups. So if you can connect with the administration to the schools, that's how you're going to get everything done. Speaking to a teacher's assistant is going to be really hard to get up the levels to get to the people that are in charge of actually booking you for something. So because my wife was an administrator, of course, that helped tremendously, and helping me understand how to talk to educators, because I'm not the sharpest, but I do it right. So basically, one school will see a video, and then the next one will call and say, "I want that, but better." And then they'll see, say, "All right, hey, we want to do this. We want to try this. We want to, do an athletics video, or we want to, do an initiative like the Hometown Heroes." Or a bond video. Those are the big ones. The bond video is the one that we get reached out the most for because they want to get theirs approved too. And the way we do our bond videos, it's based on alumni, because the only people that are going to come out and vote no are usually older. People that don't have their kids in the community anymore because they're all grown. They don't want their taxes to go up. But if you could remind them why it was so important to have a solid education when they were growing up, then, for the $15 a month it might cost you, now the next generation is going to be able to do that, your grandkids. So, most people don't really move out of their town after a long time. And a lot of times you want to raise your kids in the same town that you grew up in.
Yeah.
So that's been my whole model to it is connecting that way. So that's how we've been getting the emotional level. Now, another way we've been trying to do it, and this was an influence with the Mastermind, is to get into these groups, chat with these groups, find out how to connect with these other people that aren't answering emails, because districts, the amount of emails that come through, it's wild. I had someone cold call me yesterday to ask me to be in an advertisement in their magazine. I said, okay, please send me some information. Let me hear about it. I think a full page ad was $10,000 for me to be in this. 10,000, 10.5. So all right. So I'm like, okay, that seems a little pricey. So I text my wife. I said, have you ever heard of this magazine? And has anybody ever in your school hired somebody based on one of these magazines? She goes, I throw them right in the garbage. She goes, we get them. We just go. It's a catalog. It's the penny saver, So now I'm probably not going to be advertising in there. So it's really hard to break through and get into the schools is kind of the point. So if you know anybody that's in a school, get in there. Try and reach out with a phone call. Emails, they're not answering, but getting in these groups. So we took one of our customers, one of our education partners, that she's in charge of her township's superintendent's group. So there's about 6 or 7 different schools that are going to be there. A couple of them are already my clients, which is great because now they get to also see, some new products we might have that they might not have thought of, and then help us connect with other districts as well. So just playing that game where you can just kind of chat with people, have conversations. Yesterday, I was at this golf outing for one of our district partners, and there was 2 other superintendents there, one that we had done work with, and there was another one that I had met, but I haven't had a chance to get any work with them yet. So just another way of popping in, saying hello, hey, good to see you, and just that FaceTime. That FaceTime is the only way to do it. And as videographers, we're so used to being behind the camera that it's hard to get in front of the camera, as you saw with the prep for this for me.
I wasn't gonna bring it up. I was gonna mention and just give a shout out to you and to all the filmmakers that I've had on this show. And so many people just overthink everything. I'm like, no, just come. We're gonna have a conversation and just talk about the things that we like to do behind the camera. And but it's still it's a thing. So I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, it could be stressful. I mean, if you want to talk gear, we can go for like an hour or 2 on that.
Yeah.
But sometimes this stuff is the hardest to get by with.
I think you share some good insights for people that are thinking about getting into the education space. I'm curious, having a leg up, with your wife I can't say such big words, but doing the work that she does, that definitely is very helpful. Going to events, right? Planting yourself where these people, the decision makers, are hanging out. I always recommend find out, is there an event that you can film where all of these people are gathering, and become a sponsor for that event, speak at that event, somehow get in front of, be able to shake the hands of these people like you're suggesting.
Absolutely.
That's going to make the biggest impression. Because, everybody's busy and it's hard to, and emails come by and it's like, which ones do I pick, or which ones do I read, or which ones do I actually pursue? But for you, as you've done this, been doing this work, is there one recommendation, hey, avoid this? Maybe it's a mistake that you made, or just in overhearing what some of these administrators are saying when it comes to hiring somebody like video for the help that they need.
Right. Stuff that I would suggest avoiding is, don't just show up and start filming, because I've seen some people do that. I've been to events where it was a moving up ceremony that we were covering, and the principal goes, "Is he with you?" I go, "No."
Gosh.
And they go, and so they had to go in the middle of the graduation to tell them, "You got to go."
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, I not so much things that I would avoid. I would just kind of get in there. It might be as easy as, talking to your son's football coach and saying, "Hey, can I film a game?" And, "Hey, can I make a little highlights sizzle reel this way?" And then they can take that and get it seen in front of the school. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it. And, taking advantage, if you are a parent, that helps, of course, because now you're automatically involved in the school itself.
Right.
Donate your time. Get in touch with the PTA. Things to avoid. I really can't think of anything off the top of my head to avoid, but it's just a matter of getting out there. I mean, the first education client I really had was in 2011, was my local district, because my teacher, one of my teachers recommended me. And I will shout out to the public school system that has helped me tremendously. I have Miss Smith was my video teacher that I had for 3 years, because we had incredible electives at the district I worked in. That's when I started editing back in the day, VHS, deck to deck. And Mr. Pastor, who was my photography teacher and graphics communication teacher, and introduced me to like Photoshop and darkroom and all that stuff. And I still think of when I'm training new assistants and PAs, I think of the little things that I learned, like just leveling a tripod, things like that, and how to explain it so simply that everybody overcomplicates everything. If you go back to those simple ways that you were taught, it's so easy to teach others.
Well, I mean, right now today, you've got the wedding brand, you've got the corporate education brand side of things. How are you building? Like, what's the hope for the businesses? What are you building? 5 years from now, what do you want things to look like?
So, I feel like I'm in a really good space with the wedding brand, because we have our name. We know we do well in that industry. We're known for having a high product, but if you're going to hire us, it's not going to be cheap, which is fine. I like having that reputation. When it comes to but I want to continue building the education brand. So what I see in the next 5 years is education being way more than the wedding side of my business. And I like to build the commercial side as well. But honestly, just spending so much time with the education stuff, it's been so rewarding. And, having kids come up to me, having community members of communities that I'm not involved in. One guy came up to me at a barbecue just to tell me, he goes, "Listen, you don't know me, but I grew up in this industry. In this district. I live in this district and I work in this district. And I have to say, every time I see one of the videos that you've produced, it just gives me such a sense of pride." And, sometimes when you're working with a district that might not have the best reputation and might not have the best area, it's knowing that you can do something to make a difference and to be part of it. I just think that education and the school system is so important, especially in those primary years. From kindergarten to 12th grade. I mean, it could really guide your whole life. Yeah. I know I'm a rarity to figure out what you want to do when you're 16 years old, but it's just so important. So that's why I see the education as just another fulfilling end of things, because we all get burnt out in our industries. Weddings especially, because it's long days, and it's a lot of post-production, and it's a lot of volume. There's no repeat business majority of the time. We've had a couple inquiries for, second time around, but not as often as you'd like for a business owner. But but with the education stuff, it just revitalized me. It just gave me so much more energy to say, this is it. This is what I want. I'm feeling great. We're putting out a great product. People are digging it. My staff digs it. That's important too, because again, everybody gets burnt out from weddings. We've all been there. You did weddings yourself. One day you just have to say, all right, this is a lot.
Yeah.
But I love weddings. 5
Monday through Friday. I do them probably forever. They're so fun, but they're not.
Absolutely.
Typically.
They're not.
Yeah.
And I have kids. We used to do 75 weddings a year.
Yeah,
2021, we did 110 from April to the end of December, which was wild. And now we're doing like 30, and it's perfect because now I got my 30 days on the weekends that I can cover. This is my busy season right now for that. But honestly, I can see my kids grow up, which I don't really think too much in the future usually. I just kind of react. So when it came to thinking about how am I going to see my kids grow up, I never really even thought of it. But now as I keep growing, and another thing the pandemic did was say, I really like my family and I really like spending time with them. And that was, all right, let's figure out how to spend more time at it. And good stuff about education is usually done by 3:00. School's over.
Nobody wants to stay. Nobody wants to stay late if they don't have to.
Oh, everybody's out.
Oh man, that's good. So with, two separate audiences, two separate industries. I think the way that you've got it up, you've got multiple brands. What have you learned? Like how could you encourage someone that is dabbling? Because I think a lot of people, you look at our production company, Tell Studios, it has for the longest time been not industry specific. And that can just kind of feel like, okay, who am I marketing to? What events am I going to? Right. And then like you found this, education niche. You're like, oh yeah, I can really get to know these people and know their pain points, know how they spend money, know when they spend money, all of those things. Right. So for somebody that maybe has a more general kind of video business, or maybe they are doing weddings and they're like, I want to do less weddings. I really want to get into corporate or even education films. How are you balancing, having a team and running multiple brands? What would you say might be some of the secrets to the success in there? Not that you're doing it perfectly, but what have you found that's for you?
It's perfect. Everything we do is perfect.
Obviously.
Yeah, I got it all figured out. So
that's why you're on the show.
Exactly. I'm the expert. So basically, when you do weddings and you're trying to get commercial work, they don't want to see your weddings, right? You do education work, nobody cares about weddings, okay? When you're doing commercial work and you're trying to do weddings, they don't want to see your commercial work. So what I've found is when you have your name as the company, it's really hard to, get yourself out of anywhere because everybody's looking for you. So I said, all right, Bilski Productions is established as a wedding brand. Okay. That's what people know us by. It's really, and when people search us, that's what they find. It's best on SEO because it's been around the longest, 14 years now. So, I said, all right, I can't do, this is when I was just going for commercial. I said, all right, I can't have the same name. So after months, I finally got to High Tide Media, which I love the name. It kind of it tells a little bit about myself because, as you know, which your listeners don't necessarily know, is we love camping, and we love camping on the beach primarily. So ocean or the sound, being on Long Island, that's one of the best parts about it. And so the High Tide was where I kind of came up with building a brand to the High Tide, right? Bringing them up to that next level, High Tide. So I said, all right, this is going to separate me. And this was my initial idea was, all right, we're going to build High Tide Media, and then it's going to be so big that no one's going to know what Bilski Productions is anymore. So then we're going to change Bilski Productions and merge that into High Tide Weddings. That didn't happen. So I decided, all right, I'm not going to do that. So we got Bilski Productions, High Tide Media. Then we have the education stuff, which I kind of built off of High Tide, but still wanted the name recognition of Bilski just because my wife was an educator. So I said, all right, how can we do this? And I just started searching website names, and I said, all right, EDU Films. I couldn't believe that I can get the website for next to nothing from GoDaddy. I said, all right, good. EDU Films is good. Education films, creative films, for education facilities, and powered by Bilski Productions. So that was our best way to do it. So I think by separating each niche, so if you have, if you want to do weddings, great. We still have that niche. I love doing that. Commercial work, I've got High Tide Media. I enjoy that as well. But education, that's its own entity also. So rather than say niching down and only doing the one thing, now I've got 3 different niches. They're just 3 different brands. So when the public is looking for things, this is what we're going for. So you're advertising towards that niche. You're marketing towards that niche rather than, saying, all right, yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. Now we're experts of each field under a different name.
Yeah,
so I think that helps.
I definitely think that helps. I mean, I faced the same thing when we were thick in the weddings. I had some creative director friends, and they were like, "Hey, we'd totally give you guys work because the work that you're doing in weddings is like gorgeous and amazing, and like you obviously know what you're doing." But my boss and my coworkers, none of them can know that you do weddings. Like, wait, what? I think a lot has changed since then. Back in like 2007, 2008, when I was in very deep in weddings. But it's you want, at least online, you want to post the kind of stuff that you want to get hired for, right?
Right.
So creating very specific brands that have very specific niches, is very helpful. It also, I mean, it can get kind of like overwhelming to have multiple websites and brands and the different business cards and how am I showing up in this group? Who am I? What business card do I hand over? That was tough to navigate when we had two things, when we launched our corporate brand alongside our wedding brand. My recommendation for people today is, if you are looking at doing something more specific, so let's just say you have a corporate video production company and you have found an industry inside of that work that you really like, let's say law firms, you really like law firms, rather than create an additional brand, my suggestion is just build a website that is specific to that, a landing page that is specific to that niche. So like tellstudios.com is our general website. What about creating something like tellstudios.com/law firms or video for law firms or something like that? And then that's the URL that you share when you're a speaker at an event for law firms, or that's the page that you're sharing when you're doing cold email outreach. That's your signature. It's just going to that landing page. So they can obviously go to your main page and see the general work that you're doing. But here on this landing page, I'm calling out, I know your specific problems and challenges in the law field, and I know what kind of videos you guys need. And here are the case studies of different law firms that we've worked with. And so you could create like a whole, we do lawfirmvideo.com, and that's your new business name and new company. But to just start dabbling and see and feel what it's like to have a niche and have specific marketing messaging and specific videos that are for that market, I think you'd be surprised at how well it works and how well it's received when you are speaking the exact language to the people that you want to be working with, versus a more general approach of like, hey, we're a video production company and we can service all of your video needs. It's like, that kind of falls flat when it comes to marketing. I don't know if you know that. But,
absolutely.
That's
No, I definitely agree. And that's an easy way to do it. And honestly, that's why most of my companies just say powered by Bilski Productions.
Yeah.
Again, just a little reminder of that Bilski part of it. And, just as we're growing them until I don't need it anymore. And then that just shares right off, and then it's their own brand name. But yeah, just doing the landing page, that probably would have made more sense.
No, whatever.
What's
done is done.
It's all done. They know us now.
Failing forward. So I'm so glad that we've gotten this time together, John. When I think about, we've got a variety of different kinds of listeners on this show, but I would say that most people listen to the show because they want to better their business and experience more freedom, enjoy the work, make more money, all of the things, feel like we're contributing to, the goodness of the world. What's your encouragement, or what's kind of like, how would you, for somebody that's in that spot, which I would say is most people, how would you want to leave them today with what thought?
Take the leap and just go do it. I know it sounds so simple, but if you don't try, if you don't get out there, we all know certain people in our lives that, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then if you never take that jump, it's really hard to do. So, getting getting in front of the camera instead of being behind the camera, getting in those rooms, take the step, get out there, try. And if there's something that you love, go for it, but don't be afraid to fill in your calendar while you're doing that. There's still plenty of times I'll get phone calls. Hey, can you cover this event? And it's very rare that I do it, but if you have really good, connections, I'm thankful that doing this so long, we've met so many people along the way. I just got an email the other day. Hey, can you cover this thing at the US Open? Hey, can you do this out in the Hamptons? Cool. Nice, quick, easy shoots, fills in a Tuesday. Why not? And, but concentrate on what you want to do, envision where you want to go. And, the end result is you have to love what you do. And that's something that I've always just strive for. And I tell my kids that every day. I have a lot of people that ask me, oh, you think your kids are going to do it? Which one's going to take over? Which one's going to do it? I don't know. I really hope none of them. I hope they do whatever they want and they find something that they love. My kids are, young right now. So my 8-year-old wants to be an actor. My 10-year-old wants to be in MLB. And my 12-year-old wants to be a professional fisherman. So I'm cool with all those, but find something you love or just find a market that you love, being somehow connected to who you are is really important. And there's something I heard on a podcast recently. I think it was Seinfeld said it, actually, Jerry Seinfeld. And he was talking to a group of kids, his son's friends or his kids' friends or whatever, and just he sat down at the dinner table and explained to them. He goes, if you're not doing something you love, then the money's not going to be fulfilling. And so there's no point in doing something that you don't love. If the work isn't fulfilling, the money's not going to be either. Yeah. So I found that because I love what I do, I could succeed in it or be successful in it, and that's the best thing you could do. You have a passion, you know how to use a camera, find a niche that you love and just do it. Don't do things just for money, because you're never going to stop and you're always going to be striving for something else. But if you find something you love, you're not going to continue striving past that, because you're going to be happy in your seat.
That's really good.
Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I want people walking away with that feeling of you can just work, and you probably got into this work because you're like, and then you do it for so long, and then you get known in maybe a specific industry or niche, and you're like, I don't really care about that. But what's so beautiful is that there is so much power in the work that we do, and that how we can provide value for the kinds of clients that we want to work with.
Yes.
To just kind of double down on what you're saying is like, if you haven't done work in that industry or that niche that you want to, it doesn't mean that needs to be all of your work, because a lot of people will have excuses like, oh, this industry is pretty small, so I don't think I could make a living. Well, sure, but what if you made half of your living off of this smaller niche? How much more fun and fulfilling would the work be? Mm-hmm. My challenge to people that would say that, well, it's too small of a niche, I'd be like, yeah, right. I dare you to show me a niche that's too small, because what that means is that you could really become the expert for it. And if it's a very small niche in community of people in that space, like there's an even better chance for you to make even more money. So anyway, love that thought. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story, and just appreciate you as a person, as a dad, as a business owner, and excited for what's to come.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to, just get my message out and to talk to your listeners or viewers or however they catch this. But yeah, it's been great chat with you. And like I said earlier, you've been a true inspiration to myself, to others, and you're bringing positivity out into the world. And I think that is the best thing you could do. And just thank you for everything.
Thank you, friend, for hanging out with me and John on this episode. What a cool dude. I'm grateful to know him, grateful to get time in our mastermind together. If you're interested in the mastermind idea, concept, or you're just curious about it, you can find out all of the things if you go to studiosherpas.com/mastermind. Maybe I mentioned that in the episode, but anyway, studiosherpas.com/mastermind, bunch of information. And if that's enticing enough, you can apply to become a part of the mastermind in the future. We only open the door usually once at the beginning of the year, but we take applications throughout the year. And this year we launched one in the middle of the year, but we typically don't do that. Anyway, all of that stuff there. I'd love to know, was there a takeaway for you? Did you like this episode? If so, leave a comment below this video. If you're watching it, if you're not watching it, it's on YouTube. Would love for you to watch it there. If you have questions, suggestions about future topics or other guests I should have on the show, then shoot me an email, okay? My email address is ryan@studiosherpas.com. That's .com. That's it, my friend. Keep climbing this mountain. The work that you're doing, it's worth it. And I am for your success and want to give you whatever tools and resources and stories and encouragement that I can to help you keep moving forward. All right? That's it for now. I'll see you on next week's episode. Bye-bye.